All right, everybody. You know how time it is. It's about 5 minutes to 8. Nate Holloway with another Father's Authority tonight. We got another great interview for you. A good friend of mine, college buddy, marching band buddy. We just gonna talk everything fatherhood tonight. So, guys, what I want you to do is go on to your pages and share uh, this interview to your friends, to your groups, wherever you're gonna share it. Just go to my page. When you see me, just share it, and we're gonna get it started. I'm doing the same thing. And if you guys are watching on Kingdom Relationships, I'm sharing it there as well. We may start going from Kingdom Relationship, guys. So I need you guys to just go and like the page so you can see Father's Authority every Monday night. And I am sharing over there right now. There we go. Ooh, it's Monday. Got 3 minutes to go. Come on in the room.
I'm loud. You on?
You're not loud. I'm on, but you're not loud. You fine, though. Flirting with my wife.
I'm middle age, remember? It's got called old.
The things people say sometimes.
Somebody told me today that she was jealous. Over there at work, she said, you got a long time for something to get over. Something that she was talking about. I was like, I don't know, somebody told me I was middle age. She said, what?
That's funny.
The white lady, she said, she was jealous.
Pretty much. Y'all, my wife is fine.
What
2 minutes to go. Guys, we're going to have some fun tonight. Did y'all get y'all Popeye's chicken sandwich yet? That thing was funny. Popeyes tried to joke Chick-fil-A, and the joke was on them. They running out of food. I got a picture I'm gonna post later, guys. I went to Popeyes yesterday, and then a paper sign on the drive-through light that says, "Sorry, we're out of chicken sandwich. It will be back soon." Now, my background is fast food management. How did you not prepare for the backlash that you can get from that when you try to put Chick-fil-A on blast on social media? You should have known people was going to come out that Popeyes, if you're listening, it's called inventory control. It's called ordering for what you plan to do. It's called forecasting. It's called knowing your numbers. Next time, know your numbers. All right. Call me. If you need some help with it, call me. I'll help you. But know your numbers. All right, guys, we got 1 more minute. That was my plug to Popeyes. They ain't had no chicken sandwich. And then the funny thing, they have mac and cheese or fries. How you run out of fries and mac and cheese? My son wanted some mac and cheese, and I wanted some fries. All right, that's my soapbox. All right, it's 8 o'clock, guys. It is time for a Father's Authority. Those of you that are tuning in for the first time, Father's Authority is just it's a part of Kingdom Relationships, and our goal is to start a conversation on fatherhood to change the narrative on fatherlessness and to get fathers back into the lives of their children. What tonight, as you guys know, every Monday night, I have a different father on, and tonight I have my good friend and brother, Kelvin Johnson. He is a relationship coach, love coach, Atlanta. He does seminars and things in Atlanta, and he has two girls. And tonight we're going to be talking to him about fatherhood. And I'm bringing him on right now. There he is. What's going on, Kelvin?
Hello, hello, hello. Hello,
What's
everybody.
going on, man?
Glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you, man. I'm glad to have you. Guys, this is my friend. He's like a big brother to me. We were in the band together, Norfolk State Spartan Legion, MD. Woo woo,
Yes, sir.
$1 million. That's
Great.
right. He he was instrumental in my life in getting me acclimated to college and to the man. But tonight we're going to be talking about father. He's one of the guys who, I talk about guys who've been instrumental in my life to push me to do things, and he pushes me. I remember one time I had just put on Facebook, one of my favorite movies is The Godfather, and I got the Godfather trilogy. This dude sent me a text message saying, "Why you get the Godfather trilogy? You supposed to be working on business. You ain't got time to watch TV." Guess what? I never responded to him, but he was right. But I squeezed some time in there for that. But he got on, and that's the type of brothers you need. He's one of the brothers that if I tell him I'm going to do something, he holds me to it, and he puts fire to my feet to make sure I get it done. And he's going to ask me why and how I'm going to get it done and when it's going to be finished. So I appreciate that. But man, Kelvin, I'm glad you're on tonight, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first, I just want to let you know how proud I am of you for stepping forward and being a leader.
Thanks, man.
Like there's a lot of people who talk about what's wrong in the world, what's happening in the world, and they're not doing anything about it except complaining. But you had this in your heart to do, and it's not a show that has 10,000 people watching. But guess what? You have no idea what happens from the people who will watch this show and whose lives it will impact. So I totally believe in the ripple theory that like you drop a pebble in the ocean or in the lake and watch the ripples and you have no idea what happens after that. It just spreads, it spreads, it spreads. So I really want to say hats off to you for being a solution to the problem and not just another talker and complainer. So I really admire you.
Thanks, bro. Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
You got it. You got it. So I appreciate you having me. I am Kelvin Troy Johnson, speaker, trainer, and author. I am a motivational speaker, and I also am a relationship coach. I am the creator of Love Coach Atlanta here in Atlanta, Georgia, and we're just making it happen and just enjoying this ride. I'm glad to be on the show today to talk
Thanks,
about
man.
fatherhood and
Yeah,
relationship.
I see your stuff, man. When you some of your seminars that you do, and some of the things lives you do with some of the relationship people down in Atlanta, and it's really good, man. So let me ask you, what does father tell us about your first? Tell us about your life growing up with or without your father. If your father was in your life, if he wasn't, tell us about your life growing up.
Okay. Okay. Yes. So I grew up in Atlantic City, New Jersey, a place I just stepped off the plane. I had to go home for a little bit and get up under Mama's table, and yeah, I had to get some wisdom from my father. My father is still alive. He is a ordained. He's a bishop. So I grew up a PK.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a house that's full of ministry. Look, I literally remember the first time I heard Run DMC, and I heard Peter Piper pick pepper.
Everyone rocks drives.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was on the playground. And I was like, listen out my window, like, wow. Because we grew up very strict. But you know, how strict can you be with three boys and one girl? And so I did grow up with my father. My father was he was known in the community. So as a pastor, he was also he became other people's father, you know,
Okay.
and he was well known in the community, and he had this thing that if I say this, the people who grew up in my community, they could finish the sentence for me. My father, when we were out on the playground, and we literally lived across the street from the playground, and there's a basketball court on the playground, and we lived across the street from it. So we go out, we sneak out, didn't do the stuff we needed to do, and my father would step out onto the porch and yell, "Brian, Eric, Kelvin, you've got work to do." And look, and the kids on the whole basketball game would just freeze, and the kids would just fall out laughing, like, "Oh my God, why do y'all always have work to do?" But he was a real presence in the community, and if they didn't know what a father was, they knew they could at least hear the voice of someone in their community who was fathering his children.
That's good. That's good. How did that impact you as a father? How did it impact your fatherhood, your fathering?
Oh man, listen, it raised the bar real high. You know, when you have a good father, your expectations for and your knowledge of what a father is pretty high,
Mm-hmm.
because it's all you know. You know, except for your other friends, you look around and they don't have a father at all. There's nobody calling them, telling them they got work to do, and so it impacted me to just know how important a father was
Mm-hmm.
in my life, and so I always knew that I was going to be in my children's lives. Like I couldn't, what else is there? You know?
Right. That's good. That's good. And some guys like me who didn't have the father, I knew it was more and I wanted more, but I didn't get it. So when I had my son, I knew that I was going to give him more than what I didn't have because it was that thing I wanted. I would have probably loved to have somebody say, "Nate, you've got work to do,"
Yeah,
But I had my mom, but it was different,
yeah.
and but God has someone mentors in my life to help raise me to get me to where I am. So what does fatherhood mean to you?
Oh man, um, father means um, a change of character.
Okay.
Because when a man goes from just a guy to a father, he suddenly realizes that he has instantly become a leader.
Okay.
Now,
That's good.
I got an older son, um, who he's my son in love, and he just had a baby, and I'm watching the process with him. He's got a baby girl, and I watched him go from a kid who was like there, here, there, everywhere, to like having it all come together in 9 months,
Mm,
and seeing him like changing the way that fatherhood changes a man, um, and helps him understand responsibility, that
yeah.
that he is him and his baby, and and so I love watching that. So it means responsibility. It means a shift has happened, and you know when you recognize that, it's it takes time. I'm watching, and it's such a great example because I'm watching him literally change from just a guy to a father, and, and, and how he cares for this little baby. Big old arms of this little baby, and he understands that his presence is important, and necessary, and
Yes.
and um, uh, there there's nothing else except this is your baby. You're gonna take care of him, and that's what he's doing. So I love that.
Right. And that's good you said it because I never heard it put like that, but it is a change of character because it's when you have a baby, and it's almost like something in you. If you're a true father,
Yeah,
it's something in you shifts.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're thinking because you know you 9 months you're gonna be holding your baby
Yes.
in your arm. In 9 months, you have to take care of this person, and it shifts how you look at yourself as well. Because when my wife was pregnant with my son, and I was excited, but when I held him for the first time in my arms, it's like everything in me shifted to it wasn't about me anymore. It was about him.
Yeah.
It was all about him. What am I going to do to take care of him? What do I need to do to take care of him? How do I need to be? What is he going to see when he looks at me? What is
Yeah.
he going to hear me say? And that's how all this came about, because I immediately went to God and said, God, I don't know what to do.
Mm.
I need you to teach me how to raise my son.
Yeah.
And because I wanted to make sure that he has everything. So even now, when I'm thinking about things I want or things I want to do or where I want to go, or if I want to hang out with the fellows, if I want to do this, the first thing I think about is how much time I can give my son. You know,
Mm.
what I need to do with Caleb before I go. What does Caleb need? And so it shifts you, and it does change your character because it changes you to become, like you said, that leader and that man that your child can look up to.
Yeah. 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 I love that. You know, and that's so important. So check this out, Nate. And I want the audience and you guys, if you had some questions or you want to just chime in on this conversation, pop your comments down there below. But here, this is a good point right here, Nate. Um, did you know that the father decides the sex of the child? The father
No?
actually decides the sex of the child. So literally, the father gives the child its identity. You have a boy because you made him a boy. If you had a girl, you have a girl because you made a girl. Like the father decides, the father's genes decide, and the sperm, the father decides the sex of the baby and the identity of the baby. And so I believe that it doesn't just stop there, Nate. I believe all throughout your son's life, all throughout
Mm-hmm.
my sons and daughters' lives, we are to give these children their identity and continue
True.
to tell them who they are. Continually tell them you are a Johnson. We don't do that thing over there that the other kids is doing.
Right.
You are a Holloway. There's a certain expectation because this is what listen. Growing up in the bishop's house, he wasn't a bishop then, but he was a pastor. Growing up in the pastor's house, he used to constantly tell us, all of us, that you are to set the example.
That's good.
He would. I'm talking about like I think he might have said that every week for the whole 18 years. He constantly told there was somebody in the house. He was telling you are to set the example. You're not to follow somebody else's example. You are to be looked upon. And so he put that mandate inside of us that telling us who we were, told us we were a leader. And we like,
Mhm.
leader of who? We don't want to be no leader. But guess what? He said it enough times until and raised the bar. And so that became the expectation that we would be leaders. Even if we weren't acting like it, even if we weren't doing leadership kind of things, we knew that the bar was set for us to be a leader. Why? Because my father said so.
That's good. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And just look, and just like he said, get home before them street lights can come on. I follow, I followed that because I knew there would be consequences. Well, there's consequences if I don't live up to my expectation. If I don't live, and there's consequences if we don't speak into our children and tell them who they are, give them their identity on a regular basis, so that they always know who they are and not try to
Yeah,
be something that they're not.
right. And that's good because, like I say, it helps them set their identity and it helps them become a leader because When you tell your child, when you say, and I got one of my interviewees, I said a few words back, he says to his children, you are a Brown. You know, I got that. I said to Caleb, when I take Caleb to school, I said, what are you? He said, a Holloway. I said, what's your name? He said, Holloway. And I tell him, I said, your name means something. Your name is greatness. Your name is who you are. You are great because you are a Holloway. And, you know, and I tell him that, and now that's in him because he'll give it back to me and he'll repeat it. But I believe that as fathers, like you said, we set the identity. We give our children their identity, and we have to constantly keep doing that, especially at a young age, because as they grow up, when they think about it, they think about it. Now, if you look at a lot of wealthy, and you don't have to be wealthy to do this, but I'm just using this as an example. We look at a lot of wealthy children, and they might go to Harvard, and their dad is wealthy and known for big things. When they say, you know, such, their name means something.
Yes.
You know, especially the Rockefellers. You look at the Rockefellers, the Obamas, the Bushes. When they go out, their name carries weight.
Yes, it does.
And that's one thing we have to teach our children. You don't have to be wealthy for your name to carry weight. But if you instill that in them, then they'll believe my name. When they call my name, it means something. That's what I want my son to know. You are a Holloway. That means something. That means greatness. Because I said that all the stuff that happened in my family with my father ends with me. Well, ends with him. And I started a new generation of Holloway men with my son. Yeah. So he's going to know that when you say Holloway, it's going to have character.
Yeah.
It's going to have greatness with his name. And as fathers, it's good. I like how you said, as fathers, we have to continue to do that with our children, because when we set that identity for them, when they grow up, especially daughters too, when they grow up, our sons it's going to determine how they treat women and how they succeed, and our daughters are going to be like how they get treated by men and how they are successful as well. I like that. So what's the best part of being a father?
The best part of being a father, I would say, is seeing them develop into their own person. You know, like my children, they come up in my house as, you know, I'm a motivator. Okay, now I understand that at they listen. They've been listening to Les Brown, T.D. Jakes, you know, Tony Robbins. They know these people. They know Zig Ziglar's voice. Okay, they
That's
know.
a boy.
You know, and but to see them like, and so that means at some point in time they start rebelling. Now they got the earphones. I don't want to listen to that. I don't want to hear Robbins today. You know, and but I know that the seeds that I'm planting is growing. You know, and I know that eventually one day it's going to come back, and it's going to be something that's going to be nurturing for them as adults. You know, I've as much positive in their ears as possible. Trust me, and listen, Nate. They got some negative too, bro. I mean, you know, they didn't get all positive. they heard some things probably that maybe I would have liked for them not to hear.
Gotcha.
They've seen some things that maybe I would have liked for them not to have seen, but so but I guess on a round scope of that, they got a real experience of living with a man that's got positives and negatives, and so you know, not perfect at all, but always present. Not perfect, but always present.
Yeah, and we gotta understand that as men, we do have to understand that we are not perfect and that we're going to make mistakes. And I mean, I've caught myself and some things I may have said, not anything crazy, but around my son.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had to go, like, even with disciplining him,
Mm-hmm.
I may have, yelled at him. I mean, one time I had to go to him and say, when I shouldn't have, and tell them to apologize. Sometimes as fathers, we're going to go through that, and our kids may see something that we didn't mean for them to see, or hear something that we didn't mean for them to hear,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the intentionality behind it to go to them and correct it.
Yes.
And hey, daddy said this, daddy shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. We don't talk like that. And my son will tell me now, if we say something that you shouldn't say, but that's a potty word, daddy.
Yeah.
That's a potty word.
Yeah.
And so he knows, like, any negative words. But I thought, like, how we joke, said, man, you stupid. Daddy, that's a potty word. Because it's true, because your words, I'm telling it's your words are powerful.
Yeah.
But when we instill it in our kids, then they can grow up knowing how to, what's this saying, eat the meat and spit out the bones.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
because I think that it's also important for them to see that you are flawed.
Yeah.
Like your kids need to know that you're not Jesus Jr. and that you are flawed and you're not perfect, and so it lets them realize that they can make a mistake and not be perfect, and it's not the end of the world.
Right.
You know?
Right. Because sometimes what'll happen, man, if when you try to hide things from your kids like that, they grow up thinking, like I said, Dad is perfect. Dad is Superman.
Yeah.
Daddy can do no wrong. And then if when you do something does happen and they see it, then it's like, oh my God, it's like a huge shock. But what they have to realize, when we have to teach them through our mistakes, is when we show them how God comes back and forgives us and brings us back and never stops loving us, we make mistakes, and it's easy for us to teach them that no matter what you do, I'm going to still love you. You can always come to me and talk about anything. You can always come to me with it. I'm going to still love you. But when we do that through our mistakes, that helps us to teach them if they can do the same.
Absolutely. I was just thinking too that I'm a proud member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. I, and one of the reasons why I wanted to be a member of this organization is because of the legacy of positive Black men who left their mark on society, as well as continually, on in the spotlight, um, doing something positive, and um, and being having an impact on the world. The motto is the manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift are the four cardinal principles, right? And so um, I believe that in our households and with our children should have a legacy to look up to.
Right.
You know, our our children should have cardinal principles. Like just like the frat. What are the cardinal principles that you repeat to your child, that they know that this is the expectation. It's not by
Mhm.
accident that the Qs um, do social action and are involved in activities and helping to uplift the community, because uplift is part of the cardinal principle. So
Okay.
so we're just doing what we're supposed to be doing. And some of when we get together, we ask each other, like, so what kind of uplift you doing? All right. What about scholarship? You know, how are you leaving the legacy of the fraternity in your world? How are you leading it in your world? You know, and so I think it becomes the norm of their lives
Mhm.
if there is a principle to live up to, and
That's good.
and I think that we should have that, and it's going to come from us though. It
Yeah.
comes from the Father having a principle that that kids can then begin to have a principle in their own lives of something to obtain and something to go towards.
That's good. That's good. I like that because as fathers, I like how you said that we can give our kids, like you said, I like that cardinal principles,
Yeah.
where it's a set of principles that they live by
Yes.
everyday life. So that could be family morals,
Mm-hmm.
family beliefs,
Yeah.
and so that's something that they can grow up, knowing that this is how I operate, and
Yeah.
that helps to build that character, and that's how it helps to build that family name too as well,
Yeah.
because this is how we operate. This is how my family operates. This is what my dad told me and taught me that I have to live by. And when we
Yeah.
when we embody it ourselves as fathers, then it's easier for them to follow it because it becomes almost like a family tradition, and it gets ingrained in them. You know how when you go to like the British, they have their family crest, and that
Mm-hmm.
family crest means like it's fraternity. You got your crest as a fraternity, but
Yes.
in that crest are maybe 3 to 4 things that symbolize
No, no, no,
something.
no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. In the crest, and what we call it an escutcheon, everything means something.
Right.
Look. Everything means something. That little dot over top of the lamp means something. The lamp
Okay.
itself means something. The leaf. You know how they got the leaf, the circle of leaf, right?
Uh,
One of the There's something going on with one of the leaves. That means
right.
something.
So those things mean something for the kid to know,
Yeah.
or that person to know when they have that crest on. These
Yes.
are the principles that I'm embodied by and I represent when I wear this. And I said, we don't, not enough of us of we do that for our kids.
Yeah.
We don't do that to show them. I was been studying fatherhood from that standpoint of different things that I want to do with my son that other cultures do, like the Jewish do a bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
When that child becomes 13, they affirm his manhood.
Yeah.
Now, it's not just the father that's affirming his manhood, it's every man in his life
Yeah.
affirming his manhood.
Yeah.
Now, as fathers, as black fathers, black, white, Asian, whoever it is, but as black fathers that we don't affirm our kids enough, that could be something that I want to do for my son. It may not be a bar mitzvah, but I want to do something that's huge for him that affirms his manhood.
Yeah.
So he know that, at this age, this is what, my uncles have told me I'm a man.
Yeah.
My daddy has told me I'm a man now. My mama has told me I'm a man, and I'm affirmed by other men. And that's one of the things that as fathers that we need to do. I'm not saying everybody needs to go to that length to do that, but when you're speaking into the lives of your children and you're setting that identity, like we said, leading up to everything we just said, when you're giving the cardinal principles to your child to live by, you're doing that and you're affirming them. Now that we're talking about affirmation and we're getting into that, next question is, how important are a father's words to his child?
Oh man. A father's words can either make him or break him.
Mm-hmm.
A father's word can either make the child's life or break the child's life. I
Yep.
know men, and I have I've known men that I've worked with. My background is in the social service business, and I've always worked with males, uh, young boys, grown men, homeless men out of the system, all kind men at the church, like always working with males, right? And I can
Mm-hmm.
tell you that I've had so many cases where uh, either a father was absent or he was just neglectful and just mean, you know, and um, and his word of telling this kid that he's nothing just resonated in his life. And not only that, I guess maybe even worse than that is the mother saying, you know what? you ain't gonna be nothing.
Yeah.
You gonna be just like your daddy, and he want nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And just like his daddy before him, he want nothing, and you ain't gonna be nothing either. Now, those words didn't come from the father, but those words planted in the idea of the child, in the mind of the child, that he comes from a legacy of nothing, because the father's not present to stand up for himself and say, "Hold on, wait a minute, my father was something. My father was a bus driver who the first black bus driver, whatever it was, right?" Because I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
he was probably something, but since it's not coming from him, so now, Nate, we talking about the lack of words
Yeah.
that the father doesn't get to speak on because he's not there, because he's not around. So the child has to fill in the gaps about who he is. He has to create a scenario based on the few straws that he's gotten, or just the information that he's been given from his mother. And so I think, just as detrimental as harmful hitting words can be, the lack of words
Yeah.
as harmful as the other.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And that's important, because even if you're not in your child's life, you can be there by speaking to them, by affirming them. And it's one thing, it has to be on both sides. Is women should not tell the child you're gonna be nothing and you're gonna be just like your father. Even if father was deadbeat dad, you gotta affirm the child that he's gonna be more than that. And then fathers, we have to talk to our children every day and tell them what they're gonna be. And I say this all the time, and I don't get tired of saying it. If anybody else gets tired of me saying it, oh well. Every morning when I take my son to school, when I drop him off, I say to him, "You're great. You are a champion. You can do anything. Jesus loves you. You are a Holloway. You are a leader and not a follower."
Yeah.
Every morning. Now I just say, "What are you?" He say, "Great." I say, "What are you?" "A champion." Say, "Who loves you?" "Jesus." "What can you do?" "Anything." And he say, "I'm a Holloway. I'm a leader, not a follower." And so it's a point every day.
Yeah.
Every day I see it, and I can't stop that, because I want him to know that and get that ingrained in him, so he'll know when he grows up, he's great. And I tell him every day, "You're great, son. You're great. Caleb, you are great. I know, Daddy. You're great. Aren't you great?" "Yes." Every day I'm telling him he's great throughout the day. "You're great." I'm putting this in him because I want him to know, and I want him to be great. And I'm being intentional about it, so he knows there's greatness in him. And you know, to have a relationship with God, and to be that he can do anything. And so as fathers, we have to keep doing it, because our words follow our children into their
Yeah.
future.
Yes.
As an adult now, you're getting ready to do something, and you ever hear your dad's voice or something your dad said to you back when you were younger, that comes back to you as an adult.
Yeah.
It's like, hold on. Yeah, or you talking to somebody else and you tell them something, and it's like, "Dad, I sound like my dad," because that's what your dad has ingrained in you. Like, I didn't have my father, but I have my godfather. And one of the things that he would always tell me, he got me focused on business. One thing he would always tell me is that you can do what you want to do. One of the biggest things is that he had influence on me is my appearance. And how I look. And he had a motto, looking good and smelling good. I tell this all the time.
Oh
And
yeah.
his thing
I like
thing was, if you didn't have on cologne, you didn't take a bath.
that.
To him, you not only had to take a bath, but you had to put on cologne.
Okay.
So, and you couldn't put a cologne on while the bath, because the cologne made the funk even funkier.
Right.
But it was like, if you didn't take a bath, if you didn't have on cologne, you had a problem. If you ran out of cologne, you went straight to Rite Aid or whatever. And he bought you cologne. It was Brute back in the day, Brute and Dracar. Brute and Dracar. He would get a bottle of Brute, shake it up,
Yes, sir.
you know,
That
for your
Jack
head.
Jack
But it was
keep up.
right. But that was ingrained in me. And now, I'm ingraining my son. My dad every week was like, get your hair cut, we'll get your hair cut. So now, like in the morning when I brush my son's hair, if I don't put grease in his hair, he's like, Dad, you didn't put something in it. So it's like I'm ingrained in him because it was ingrained in me, and so that's as a father, I'm teaching him grooming standards.
Yeah.
Now as a child, his clothes have to match, the colors have to match. The color, he can't put on purple shoes if he got on blue outfit unless it's purple in the shirt. And so and he knows.
Yeah.
So it's
Fresh.
those things,
So,
right?
yeah. Let me jump in on that. So I remember when you first had your son, and you was taking him to the barbershop, and I said something to you. I don't know if you remember. I
I
said
remember.
a father should be your son's first barber.
I remember you said it. Yep.
Um, uh, with both of my sons, I was their barber, and it I gave them their haircut, and me giving them their haircut, it was more than just a haircut. I talked about it one time. I said it was an impartation.
Uh-huh.
It was more than just me edging them up. It's my hand is on their head and my voice is in their ear,
Mm-hmm.
and, and I am grooming them and getting them ready for the world. So I'm physically grooming them and I'm speaking into their ear, directly into their ear, and telling them, and we having conversations, and I did that for both of my sons until they got so old, got into their teenage years and they want to go to the barbershop. They don't want daddy one special. Okay, look, because I never became a barber, but I became an influence.
Right. Right.
I never became a hairstylist, but I became something that went in their ears that gave them information about who they were. So I encourage every father, if your kid is young enough, that he don't really know or care. Look, anybody can look now. You can go on YouTube and learn how to give a nice haircut, right?
I can't do it. That's
It's
what because I'm a perfectionist when it comes to edge ups and haircuts.
yeah.
So my thing was if he has to have a perfect edge up. So my thing was for me, and I see where you're coming from. And I see what you're saying. My thing is now what I do is the barbershop that I take him to is important. The
Okay.
barber shop that's taking the barber that cuts his hair, it has to be a positive shop, no cursing, no bunch of crazy music playing. And the barber has to be somebody that speaks life into him when we're together, when I'm there. Because there's one time I took him to this barber and I took him there like 3 times. Third time I took him, the barber got frustrated with him and just cut all his hair down, which is not what I wanted. After that, I was like, you will never come back here again because you never get frustrated with my son and say the wrong thing. So I see what you're saying. I see where you're coming from. It just my OCD with edge ups. And I say, you know what? I just take him to the shop. But
Listen, to each his own. But as long I hope that there's some father out there who hears what I just said and is willing, even if he decides not to, I want him to think about what I said and just consider it that
yeah,
that is it's way more than a haircut. It's a mindset. It's more than just a mohawk. It's a mindset.
yeah.
It's so much more. And there's going to be a time when that time's gone and they don't want what you got. But you've already planted all the seeds. And you got there, and you had those precious moments with them, and they'll always remember that Daddy used to cut my hair, and but they don't even remember what else went into their ears at that moment. So
I feel you. I trust me. I got it when you said it.
yeah.
When you said it to me. Yeah. I remember. I remember that when you sent me that text.
Yeah. Now you said something about what you talk to your son about as he goes to school. Um, since now your son is young. How old is your son?
4. He's 4.
Your son's 4. Okay. My son is my next to oldest son that lives here with me is he's 16, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's heard everything. look, look, he's heard it all, bro. Like nothing has escaped him at this point. At 16, by the time he's been listening to this his whole life, right? And so now I say to him, I'll just walk up to him and say, "You're gonna be you're gonna be a great success one day. You know that?" And you know what his response is? "Yes, Daddy, I know. I know already. Jeez." And listen, he's heard it so much until he's
Mm-hmm.
like, "Yes, I know. I'm going to be a great success one day."
But that's good though. That's
Yeah,
good because and you're saying it so much that it can. Sometimes when we get tired, when our parents tell us stuff over and over again, and we get tired of it. But it's ingrained, so when we get old enough, we won't forget it. We're gonna
right.
always remember. We're gonna always, 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 always remember it.
Yeah,
And so as I remember when my godfather was always at church. He's a pastor. He was always at church. Always at church. I get out of school, out of band practice. I gotta go to the church. I Saturday morning. I'm at the church. I mean, on the drums. Or he had me in there counting money. His thing that he would say to me, anybody from the Tower, from Boys and Girl Club days, remember this. It was always, if you're counting money, all the bills had to be turned the same way.
yes,
And I
sir.
used to irritate him. If you count money, you didn't turn the bills the same way. He's irritated. He said, son, you got to turn the bills the same way. And here is why. Because when you go to the bank and you give it to the bank teller, you won't have them to have to do extra work. You want them to show that you care enough about them to turn the bills the same way. That's what they're going to do. It was another thing
Yeah,
where whenever we went to a hotel, whenever we traveled, we never got the maids to come in and clean the room. He made us clean the room, made us make the beds, made us clean the room before we go every day. We never had housekeeping. And I used to wonder why. Why? Because we want to leave it like we found it. That was his thing. You want to leave it like we found it. But I'm like, they get paid to do this. They will leave it now. Shoot, I'm gone. Yeah, but that you get paid for it. But I still think about that whenever I'm in a hotel now and I'm about to leave. I think about what he said, and I
yeah,
may not make up the bed when I leave now, but I look at that room and I try to make sure that room is cleaner. At least they don't have to
yeah.
do a whole lot, when they
Right.
come in, because that was instilled in me, because I'm making someone else's life easier
Yeah,
when they come into the room.
yeah.
So to me, ask you, what advice would you give your children about kindness, just being kind?
Well, as now, it still works. That is the golden rule. Is as you would have them do unto you. Talk to others as you would have them to talk to you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
be be an asset to others as you would want them to be an asset to you. Because it's just a matter of time before it comes back to you. And so I talked to them about um, caring about other. I had a talk with my daughter not long ago about paying attention to other people's emotions.
Mm-hmm.
You walk up and you see that somebody looks kind of sad, or feel keep uh, you know feel the room that you're in. If there's if you, everybody was joking, ha ha ha, and suddenly this person is sitting there and their demeanor changes, pay attention
Mm-hmm.
to that and ask them, "Hey, are you okay?" And that
Yeah.
one little act of care and kindness could change the person's life forever. You don't even know what that does, because most people feel like they aren't heard or nobody cares anyway. you know, and
Mm-hmm.
you don't know what's going on in that person's life. I always say, you know, treat everybody kind because you don't even know what it takes for them to get out of bed every morning.
That's good.
You know, there's somebody this morning who got angry because they woke up. You know, they angry because they woke up because they don't see any reason to be alive. And your
Mm,
one word of kindness could give them a lift for the day and make them feel worthwhile. So do
that's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. So, man, I appreciate it, man. So, is there anything uh, that you want to just tell the fathers out there right now? Just take a minute and just whatever you want to say to fathers out there. Um, you can go ahead. If you want to motivate them, if you want to tell them they're great, um,
yeah.
go ahead.
Well, listen. Here's what I want to say to the fathers. Fathers, it's in you. Listen, you are raising the next generation of people who are going to take over the world, who are going to run the world, who are going to manage the world. It doesn't matter what you did yesterday. It doesn't matter what happened last year, the week before, or the week before that, the month before that, the year before that. Call your kid today and have a conversation. Everything starts with a conversation. Call your kids today. Today, when this thing goes off, shoot somebody a text message and say, I was just thinking about you. Plan a time. Like Nate talked about. He planned a time with his son every day. Plan a time to maybe your kids are a little older. I don't care if your kids are grown.
Mm,
Plan a time. Ask your daughter, can you take her out on a date? I don't care if she's 28 years old. Ask her if you can take her out to lunch. Go take her out for coffee and you guys share a moment. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. We always talk about little kids, but there are some adults who are missing their fathers and would love to hear from you. So don't just sit here and listen to this. Take action today. I call it, in my circles, we call it speed of implementation. When you hear something that makes sense to you, take an action as soon as possible to
that's good.
solidify what you heard. And I'm telling you, it's going to change your life. And it could change or save the life of your children and maybe their children. So take action immediately to make things better for the future.
Good, good. Well, guys, Calvin, I'll be right back with you, man.
Okay.
Guys, that was Kelvin, my friend and brother. Guys, it was a great interview tonight. If you have any questions at all, you can find him on Facebook, Kelvin Troy Johnson, if you want to talk to him. Guys, I appreciate you for coming on tonight, as always. Again, if there's something you want us to talk about, or if there's something that a question you want to ask, just email us at hello@kingdomrelationships.org. If you want to see these interviews again, just go to our website at kingdomrelationships.org and just go to the videos. Or you can go to our YouTube page at Kingdom Relationships on YouTube and view the videos. Guys, we thank you for tuning in tonight. We will be back next week with another great interview for you guys. Guys, the next few interviews are going to be awesome. We got things coming again, guys. The book is coming soon. Pre-order is going to be available soon for you to get the book. And again, thank you guys for coming on. Remember, kingdomrelationships.org, Kingdom Relationships on YouTube. Go to our Facebook page, guys. We want everybody to go and like Kingdom Relationships on Facebook and on Instagram as K Relationships, because we got a lot of things that we're doing and we want to let you guys know through those outlets. All right. Thank you, guys. Love you all. Be victorious.